It was a hot, suffocating afternoon when Mark found himself lost in the dense jungle. His heart raced, sweat beading on his forehead as he stumbled through thick underbrush, trying desperately to remember which way he'd come from. The map he had bought from the tourist shop in town had been a joke. The compass? A broken relic. His phone had long since died. "Why me?" Mark muttered under his breath, feeling the weight of both frustration and hopelessness pressing down on him. "I was just trying to take a walk. A peaceful walk. Not this disaster." He had come to the jungle on a solo trip, hoping for a brief escape from his stressful life back home. The idea had been simple: a few days away from emails, meetings, and the ceaseless buzz of his phone. But now, it seemed that the jungle itself had conspired to make him pay for his delusion of control. As he trudged deeper into the unknown, he began to doubt everything: his choices, his faith, and even the very concept of destiny. What was the point of trying? The universe, no, the world itself, seemed indifferent to his suffering. He had heard people say that God has a plan for everyone, but right now, it felt like Mark was merely a pawn in some cosmic joke. Maybe his fate was to die alone here, lost and forgotten. With each step, the sun dipped lower in the sky. Mark stumbled, fell, and groaned in pain, but somehow managed to pick himself back up. The jungle was relentless, every thorn and vine mocking him as he tried to navigate his way through the wilderness. In his exhaustion, he plopped down onto a rock, head in his hands. "All right, God," he whispered, wiping his face. "What's your big plan for me, huh? You want me to die here? Is that it? Or do you just want me to keep walking in circles for your entertainment?" He had heard the phrase "God works in mysterious ways" more times than he cared to count, but in that moment, all he felt was abandonment. His faith was slipping. Maybe there was no plan at all. Just then, the distant sound of rushing water reached his ears. It wasn't much, just a faint trickle, but to Mark it was a lifeline. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be a river? A stream? Maybe even a path? His tired legs pushed him forward, propelled by that fragile thread of hope. He followed the sound until he reached a small clearing, where a narrow creek meandered through the trees. Mark's eyes widened in disbelief. There, right in front of him, was a trail, barely visible beneath the undergrowth, leading toward what appeared to be a small village. He couldn't believe his eyes. I can't believe it," he muttered, a chuckle escaping his lip. "You did this, didn't you? All right, God, I'm starting to get it now." Mark felt something stir within him, a feeling he hadn't had in days. It wasn't relief exactly, but something warmer, something that felt like the faintest whisper of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the plan. Maybe the journey was never about the destination at all. It was about understanding something deeper, something that could only be learned in the wilderness, away from the noise of the world. As he approached the village, a man stepped forward from the shadows of a hut. His face was lined with age and wisdom, but his smile was kind. Without a word, the man offered Mark a cup of water. It was cool, sweet, and refreshing, like a gift from the earth itself. "Thank you," Mark said, his voice cracking. The man nodded, his eyes filled with quiet understanding. "The jungle teaches us many things," he said, his voice deep and steady. "Patience, humility, and sometimes we find our way when we stop looking so hard for it." Mark smiled, feeling the weight of his journey begin to lift, if only slightly. Maybe this was God's plan after all, not a dramatic rescue, not some grand miracle, but a quiet revelation that sometimes the hardest paths lead us to the places we need to be. As he sat down, feeling the warmth of the fire from the village, Mark couldn't help but laugh softly to himself. "All right, God," he muttered with a grin, "I get it now. I really do." And for the first time in what felt like forever, he believed that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as lost as he thought.